Hi, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in this video I'm going to show you the order of application of a morning and evening skincare routine plus some additional skincare tips. Now, as you can see, we are already in the PowerPoint that I have prepared for you, plus the example routines which I really want to break down. But I do want to emphasize that if you want to go over the individual products that I've included in my routines, you will find it at the very end of the PowerPoint. There you can see the description for whom they are suitable and what they can do for you. I'm not going to cover this in too much detail because I want to keep my main focus towards the order of application. Now, I can already tell you that I did include all the steps possible, but not all of them are necessary. Only choose the specific skincare products that are targeting your skin needs. But I want to get started with the general skincare tips so that you have those already in mind before we are getting into the example routines. And by the way, as always, if you find the PowerPoint helpful, you want to go over it in your own time, you will find a link in the description box down below. So let's get started with the first slide, which you can see right here, which is going to cover the patch test. Now, this is mainly important if you're being new to a skincare ingredient or maybe a specific treatment that has a higher concentration of an ingredient in it, and you may not know how your skin is going to respond to it. So instead of immediately applying it all over your face and neck, you would do a patch test on your upper forearm. And then if everything is fine, you can include it in your skincare routine. So here you can see the steps on how you can do a patch test. However, if you want to see it visually, I have it for you in the top right corner. Just keep in mind that if you should use a salicylic acid product, then you would do the same patch test once per day for 3 days, like 3 days in a row. So you would repeat it after repeat it after repeat it, so that you're making sure that no sensitivity occurs when using it. Then when it comes to the next slide, we're going to cover those points right here. The first one would be clean your face properly and pat the skin dry with a towel. Now, your cleansing step is the most important step, primarily in the evening, to properly take off your makeup, sunscreen, excess oil, dirt and sweat from the skin. And so once you have cleansed your face, you're going to take a clean towel to remove the remaining water drops from the skin surface. Gently pat the skin dry, do not rub. And this is an essential step to do in between to make sure that you will get the best layering possible so that you won't come across pilling or an uncomfortable feeling. Also, your cleanser is the only product that needs to be removed from the skin aside from certain face masks. Everything else you can leave it on the skin during day or nighttime. Then when it comes to damp skin, well, damp skin is when the skin has already absorbed some water, so for example while washing your face, but is dry to the touch since you have already removed the remaining water drops from the skin surface. So after washing your face, the skin remains damp for 30 minutes, like for up to 30 minutes, let's put it this way. However, many products need to be applied to dry skin, such as retinol, retinoids or exfoliating acids. Because the problem is that if you are using such products onto damp skin, they can absorb much faster into the skin. For some people, this may not be an issue at all. However, for others, depending on your skin tolerance and sensitivity, this can already create a reaction where it starts to sting or burn, or you may come across a heat feeling or redness. And this basically means that the product has already absorbed too fast into the skin, your skin feels overwhelmed with it. So what you can do instead, if that should occur, is that after your cleansing step, you're going to wait those 10 to 15 minutes before you're going to apply such products to the skin so that they can already somewhat dry, so that the product is less likely to absorb that fast into the skin. But overall, you really need to test it because it's very individual for whom this really applies and makes a huge difference, whereas for others this may not make a difference at all. So go ahead and test it. Then when it comes to the waiting time, this primarily keeps the focus on if you're layering multiple skincare products after another. Always make sure that the skincare product is able to absorb into the skin before moving on to the next step. Otherwise, you can come across a layering issue and again pilling, because you're just going to layer one product after another, and they're all sitting on the skin surface because none of them had the time to properly absorb into the skin. So as a general guide, wait between 30 seconds to a minute. However, if a product has already absorbed much sooner into the skin, well then of course immediately move on to the next step. Then the next point would be choose products that are designed for your skin concerns. So just because someone told you that it's going to work well for their specific skin concerns doesn't mean that they're going to work well for you. So I just want to give you an example. If I'm not going to tell you, well, this product really worked well for my acne-prone skin, well, this may not be the case for you, and your skin may react negatively to it, and then you may want to look for another option. So just because someone is telling you that a product is just like the current trendy product, or that everyone had apparently great experience with it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. So go ahead, take your time, analyze your skin, try to understand what your skin needs and what your skin is able to tolerate, and based on that you're going to set up your skincare routine. Then the next point would be visit a dermatologist for major skin concerns. Now you have to be realistic. I mean, over-the-counter skincare products have their limits. They only work to a certain extent. And depending on how severe your skin concerns may be, you need to see a doctor. There isn't another way around, because the over-the-counter products won't have much effect on your skin concerns. And so I'm now just primarily on the top of my head thinking about melasma or even physical acne scars. In that specific case, it's best to see a doctor to get the right treatment so that you will be happy with the outcome out of it, and that you're not going to waste too much money on over-the-counter skincare products if they're not meant for your specific skin concerns. And then the last point would be take good care of your skin. Remember to always be patient and consistent with your skincare routine. Skincare takes time, it won't happen overnight. So overall, if you have a skincare routine that targets your skin concerns, depending on your skin concerns, this really can take a few weeks until you will see major improvement. So please do not give up right away. Give it at least like 2 to 3 months until you decide to change anything in your skincare routine. Now that you know the main tips that I want to include in this video, I now want to move into the morning example skincare routine and evening routine, because now when you see the example routines, it's going to make a lot more sense to when you're going to apply those tips. So first of all, here you can see an example of a morning skincare routine. On the top corner, you can see the time of use. Below that, the steps. Underneath the products that I have picked to give you an example routine, and below the boxes you can see the overall general guide, which you can follow with any skincare products that you may be currently using, because I gave you different options depending on the texture of the product and like the overall treatment that you may be using. So right away, I want to say that the most important step in your morning skincare routine is the cleansing step, as well as your sunscreen. All the steps in between are optional steps. So please, if you can, narrow it down as much as you can. The simpler, the shorter you can keep your routine, the more focused it is towards your skin concerns, the better. This way you're going to, first of all, save money. Second of all, you're less likely to come across any issues. So we are starting off with the first step, which is washing your face. So in the morning, this can be a regular cleanser. You can see 2 great examples right here. Make sure that it's suitable for your skin type. Now, this should help you to remove any excess oil, dirt and sweat from the skin, or any last traces of your skincare routine that you have applied the night before you're going to continue with your morning skincare routine. So wash your face with your cleanser, rinse it off, and then pat the skin dry. Again, remove the remaining water drops from the skin surface. Remember this. Then the first optional step would be an hydrating toner, or as I would call it, a regular toner. And you can see one example right here. Now, when it comes to the toner application, I want to share with you the overall general guide below to give you an example of how you can work through my example routines. So right here you can see toner and essence. Shake well before use. Dampen a cotton pad with toner essence, taking care to not over soak the pad, so do not make it dripping wet. And then apply it across your face and neck. Or another method would include dispensing 5 to 10 drops or 1 to 2 pumps directly on the palm of your hand or fingertips, and then apply it across your face and neck. Do not rinse. So this is what I mean with the overall general guide. It should give you an idea of how you can get started when using the different skincare products which you may want to include. So once you have applied it to the skin, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. Again, give it a bit of time in between, the 30 seconds to a minute if necessary, so that the toner can fully absorb into the skin before moving on to the next step. And then the next step would be the essence. This is again one example. You have the overall general guide below. Once you have applied your essence, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And then again, wait for it to absorb before moving on to the next step. When it comes to serums and treatments, I've picked now 2 serums which have a different texture. Based on that, you can see in the general guide, I've made a little star right there so that you can see to what it would apply with the examples I mentioned above, based on the texture. Because the more watery your serum is going to be, the more product you need to use. The stickier, the thicker it gets, the less product you need to use because you have more time to blend it all over. And here you can see 2 great examples of a vitamin C or niacinamide. And of course, go with a specific treatment that fits with your skin concerns, and always layer from the thinnest to the thickest texture. So for example, if you have a serum that has a water-like texture, this would be then the first one that you would apply, and then next up you would move on with serums or treatments in general that have a much thicker texture. I recommend using no more, like the general guide would be, use no more than 3 serums or treatments in a skincare routine. However, if you have already included your toner and essence, I recommend narrowing your treatments in general to 1 or 2 max. Otherwise, you may come across layering issues because the more product you're going to lay on top, the more likely it can cause an uncomfortable feeling or maybe pilling. So go ahead, make sure to narrow it down as much as you can. Once you have applied it to the skin, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And then moving on to the last optional step, this would be then your moisturizer, or with my example, using a moisturizer that contains natural moisturizing factors to rebuild and strengthen your skin barrier rather than just sitting on top and doing nothing. And so once you have applied that one, you're going to leave it on the skin. There's no need to wash it off. And then you're moving on to your sunscreen step. So your sunscreen is the last step in your skincare routine. And you're going to apply it in the morning just before sun exposure to prevent any further fine lines and wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, sunburn, or overall sun-damaged skin. Now, when it comes to the sunscreen, I have a specific sunscreen guide in those slides, which you can see right here. First of all, covering the main information about sunscreen in general, so that you understand this a bit further if you need to wear sunscreen indoors, but most importantly about the application, so that you're going to apply your sunscreen 10 to 15 minutes before sun exposure, and as a general guide, use half a teaspoon for your face, neck and ears, or if you want to include your décolletage, use about 1 teaspoon. Now, if you should end up with too much, it's totally fine to adjust this general guide, but overall you should understand that you need to use a fair amount to evenly and properly cover it all over to protect the skin from the damaging UV rays. But you can see the labeled images right here, plus for what areas it's going to be needed, so that you have an overall general guide in mind. If you want to see the application of the sunscreen, I have a video for you in the top right corner. Now, another point would be when to apply your sunscreen in a skincare routine. Well, you know it already in a skincare routine, then it's going to be the last step. However, if you want to wear makeup throughout the day, then it's going to be the second last step, and then you're going to use your makeup on top. But just make sure that you're going to give your sunscreen like 5 to 10 to even 15 minutes to dry down before you're moving on to your makeup application, so that you're not going to move it around. But overall, you should get the idea, and the little images should be helping you to understand this a bit better. Now, this is basically what I want to cover in a morning skincare routine, to go over all those little tips as well as tricks so that you have a more pleasant application when doing so. Now, when it comes to the evening skincare routine, I've created 2 example routines, once with an hydrating toner, once with an exfoliating acid toner. So let's cover the hydrating toner as well. And in this particular routine, I mainly want to keep the focus towards the cleansing step, the treatments, as well as the last step in the evening. So with the cleansing step, if you should just have worn a chemical sunscreen and or light makeup, using your regular cleanser should be more than enough to properly wash your face and get everything off. However, if you should have worn a mineral sunscreen or more heavy makeup, pigmented, waterproof makeup, well then go ahead and use an oil or balm cleanser, either on its own or you may want to do a double cleanse. And so when it comes to the double cleanse, I have a guide for you right here under sunscreen information so that you know how you can do the double cleanse properly if you want to do so. Otherwise, just use one of them if it is able to properly take everything off the skin. Now, as you can see right here in this little image, the woman right here, which should represent myself, is using a washcloth, and this is what I always recommend doing when I'm showing you the application. Always use a washcloth when washing your face with a cleanser. Doesn't matter if it's just a regular cleanse, oil or balm cleanser on its own, or a double cleanse. This helps tremendously to get everything properly off the skin, not only when doing this above the sink but in the shower as well. So if you want to see a guide about this, I have a video for you in the top right corner. Now, when getting back to the example routine, after your cleansing step, you can move on to your toner if you want to include it, essence if you would like to, and then serums and treatments. So right here I went with Differential, which is adapalene, which is a sort of retinoid, or for example Paula's Choice Azelaic Acid Booster. So I went with treatments that have a thicker texture. So one is a gel, the other one is a cream, and again the overall general guide below should help you to understand how much you would need to use, because still those are treatments, you shouldn't overdo it. Once you have applied it to the skin, you're going to leave it on the skin, there's no need to wash it off. And then as the last step, you can finish with an oil and or moisturizer. Now either go with one of them, so either an oil or moisturizer, or if you want to use both, I highly recommend mixing them, and you can see a mixing guide right here below as well. Now I do want to give you one little note that I included in this example routine as well, in case you want to follow it. Since I've included a Differential, which is a retinoid, or if you would have used a retinol instead, then you can see a frequency guide right here below on how often you can use it. So with what you should start 2 to 3 times per week, and then build up your skin tolerance and increase it to every other day or daily as needed and tolerated, so that you have an idea of how you can slowly increase the frequency over time. Now this would be it for the first evening routine. However, when it comes to the next one with an exfoliating acid, you now may already notice that I wanted to avoid using exfoliating acid and retinoids in the same routine, because this can increase the chance of experiencing sensitivity. So therefore, all what's going to change in this evening routine is the exfoliating acids, and I went back to my previous serums that I've already mentioned in the morning. Still, when it comes to the exfoliating acids, you have the guide right here and below the frequency guide on how you would use them, like how would you would start off with them. Still, I've set those routine up in a way that if you would like to follow them, depending on your skin concerns, and I've just mentioned products that would fit with your skin concerns, that you can still follow it at home, so that nothing serious is going to happen, because we kept the retinoids and retinols separate from exfoliating acids. This can already make a huge difference. Or what you then need to do is figuring out what frequency would work well for you when trying this out at home, but please do not overdo it in general. But there's one last bit that I do want to quickly emphasize, and this is what to remember when layering your skincare products. So right here you have the layering guide again, which basically represents what I've just shared with you in example routines. But another important point would be skincare pilling. Now, I've mentioned now the entire time how important it is that after washing your face to remove the remaining water drops on the skin surface, and how important it is to give the skincare products enough time to properly absorb into the skin. Because if you're not going to do this, skincare pilling can happen, where you're basically going to rub off your skincare product and then it looks like little bits and flakes and balls on the skin surface. And so here are already the points that I have mentioned earlier, with some additional ones with the overall skincare formulations. This can sometimes cause pilling as well, but not that often, depending on the skincare products that you're using. It's mainly about washing and patting the skin dry, plus the waiting time, and overall not using too much product of each product that you're using in your skincare routine, so it can properly absorb into the skin. And this way you can already, to a larger extent, avoid skincare peeling, so that's not going to happen, or an uncomfortable dry or tight feeling when doing the application. But this is primarily what I wanted to share with you when looking over the slides, so that you have an overall understanding of how you can read through them and when setting up your own skincare routine at home. Now, if you find this video helpful, if you enjoy my PowerPoints in general and you want to support my work, you can go ahead and do this. You will find a super thanks button below this video, or in the description box you can find a PayPal link. This is a great way on how you can support my work, or if you want to do it in a free way, you can give this video a massive thumbs up, as well as share it with your friends and family, so that this video will get more attention and that more people know how they can set up their own skincare routine. Now, I do hope that you enjoyed it, and if you now want to learn more about skincare, want to see the different applications, I have videos for you on my channel. I'm going to leave some of them at the end of this video, but this is what I want to share with you for now, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in the next one. Happy skincaring. Bye.